Hello, the viewers of The Pioneer. How are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. Recently, the Russian armed forces carried out the most severe air attack since the beginning of the war and wanted to destroy the Ukrainian defense overnight. However, the air defense systems of the Ukrainian armed forces were largely able to repel these attacks. The Ukrainian air defense systems responded with a massive and successful response, destroying many of the missiles launched by the Russian army. Then it was the Ukrainian armed forces' turn. Missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles of the Ukrainian armed forces took off. They entered the territory of the Russian Federation and targeted strategic positions. Although Russian sources initially denied the attacks carried out by the Ukrainian army, with the emergence of the images from the region, Russian sources had to admit that the attacks took place. So, what happened in the operations launched by the Ukrainian army at night? Let's take a look at the developments together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to convey the developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. I also read all your comments on our videos carefully. Please continue to express your opinions about our content in the comments. Let's start if you are ready. The Pioneer reports. As we have reported, missiles and drones belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces were mobilized after the Russian military struck targets in Ukraine. We have often mentioned this in our previous reports. On several occasions, the Ukrainian army had struck targets within the borders of the Russian Federation. Among these targets were Berdyansk and Belgorod. Belgorod recently witnessed a cross-border operation by the Free Russian Legion. After this operation of the Free Russian Legion, there were many reports that the Ukrainian army would target the region. At that time, Russian sources again appealed to the Russian war leadership and the leadership of the Russian Federation. Russian sources mentioned that there was a possibility that the Ukrainian army might target the Russian borders again. However, it seems that neither the Russian war leadership nor the Russian administration took these warnings seriously, because with the attacks in the past nights, many strategic points within the Russian territory were hit. One of the targets was the Crimean plant in the Berdyansk. This factory was one of the largest microelectronics enterprises in the Russian Federation. Allegedly, the production of the highly strategic materials was carried out in this factory. According to the information we obtained from local sources, very strong explosions were heard at night. Russian sources also did not initially accept the explosions here, claiming that the attacks on the region had taken place. However, the images that emerged later showed that the large explosions occurred in the region. We have not yet been able to obtain any information on the latest situation in the factory. Since Russian sources usually conceal these reports, we cannot access any information. However, the images of explosions strengthen the possibility of heavy damage in the region. Another point was a radio facility in Berdyansk. According to the reports, a radio facility in Berdyansk was also hit during the Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles strikes. We don't have any information on the damage here. The Russian leadership has imposed a very strong censorship of the situation in the region. Local reports differ widely, so it is not possible to get the truth. Another target point was Belgorod. As mentioned, the Belgorod region is frequently targeted by the Free Russian Legion. Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles also supported these operations from the air. According to the latest reports, many points within the borders of the Belgorod were targeted by unmanned aerial vehicles. According to reports, residents heard and felt the explosions over a wide area. The turmoil was also reflected in social media accounts of the Russian users. These operations create great anger among the Russian citizens. Many Russian citizens criticize the Russian administration, especially the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, on social media. A statement came from the Russian Defense Ministry about the operations in question. The following statements were used in the statement. 32 unmanned aerial vehicles of the enemy carried out an attack on the territory of the Russian Federation. The unmanned aerial vehicles that entered our airspace during the enemy's attacks were destroyed by our air defense systems over Moscow, Belgorod, Berdyansk, and Ural regions. There are no enemy vehicles hitting our territory. It seems that the Russian Defense Ministry sources have once again chosen to lie. The images coming from the region clearly showed that the operation carried out by the Ukrainian armed forces have reached their targets. However, Russian Defense Ministry sources ignored these images, but it is no longer possible for the Russian Federation to hide these facts. Another development that is wearing down the Russian Federation is due to the economic reasons. As we have often stated in our previous reports, the sanctions imposed on the Russian Federation have dealt a heavy blow to the Russian economy. At the same time, Russian citizens who left their country due to the war caused a decrease in labor force in Russia. Russia is struggling with high inflation, issues related to the chaos and turmoil in countries with deteriorating economics continues to occupy the agenda in Russia. According to reports, one of the biggest problems within the borders of the Russian Federation is eggs. Yes, you did not hear it wrong. Here, eggs producers are among the groups most affected by inflation in Russia. According to reports, since the first day of the war, the egg production of the Russian Federation has fallen considerably. A recent development has created a great shock in Russia. According to reports, Grani Shariev, the 59-year-old president of the Turnkov poultry farm, the largest in the western Voronezh region, was assassinated. Shariev was traveling home by car and was waiting at a traffic light when two undefined men opened fire on his car. Shariev managed to survive this attack. Shariev made the following statements to the Russian media organizations. "2 shots were fired. I was not hit. I was lucky." Russian law enforcement agencies have launched an investigation into the incident. It is also claimed that a lawsuit was filed against the Shariev before this incident due to the high egg prices. The reason for the lawsuit is the sharp increase in the egg prices in October. According to the Russian official statistics agencies, egg prices increased by 40% annually. Due to the sanctions imposed on the leadership of the Russian Federation, egg producers in Russia don't have access to the necessary chicken feed and breeding materials. What do you think? Do you think that the attacks of the Ukrainian armed forces on the territory of the Russian Federation will continue? Do you think that these attacks are effective? Do you think the Ukrainian army should carry out more attacks? What do you think about the egg crisis on the territory of the Russian Federation? Tell me in the comments. I read and care about